we kind of started the chapter last week of chapter 4. And we never actually finished it because we didn't get to all the questions. So I guess we had a lot of deep conversations about this. And then we talked about Padre Pio. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering what that shrine was at
Where
the
was
beginning.
that when you were talking about Padre?
Then you weren't here last week. But that's why I was just trying to give you a little heads up. Because we had like 2 minutes left and I was like, so what's up with this Padre Pio? Because I've been
People go
subbing.
there to pray.
Yeah, and she rolled her eyes when I said it. So I was like, okay. She says, well, it's some kind of rich Catholic person that made this shrine with this saint. Because there's 10,000 saints or so in the Catholic Church. We just happen to have this shrine. And they're almost like eccentric.
But I think Padre Pio used to be at one of the Catholic churches over there.
Oh, I don't know.
Remember what we used to call the drive-in church?
Oh.
There was a church on the corner that you could pull up, and they had, it was a Catholic thing, and they had the things where you could light a candle and all.
Oh, drive-through?
We used to call it the drive-in church.
You didn't have to get out of the car?
I don't know if there was actually, I think there was actually a church there. This was
Yeah.
in front of, but anyway, I think there was a priest over there whose last name was Pio.
Oh.
And somebody built this shrine to this priest.
Oh.
And people go there and sit and meditate or pray or something.
Well, I
You
guess
can just pull in a park and go sit and whatever.
Well, I guess this was one. It's based on the Padre Pio was a saint in a Catholic
Well, maybe
church.
so.
But anyhow, she said that. Well, this was one of those guys that said he bled like Jesus bled. I forget the stigmata or whatever.
Yes.
And but he also had these theories like he could transport himself telepathically to places, and he performed miracles and everything. So people that like follow that saint are a little like hippy dippy kind of, I guess. At least that's the kind of impression I got from her. Because I mentioned it, she rolled her eyes. She goes, "I got nothing to do with Padre Pio. I mentioned the wrong thing."
I don't know. I always thought.
I just thought it was some peaceful place people sat and meditated or something. Yeah,
But
just what they do, I guess. But
Well, we could look up Padre Pio if we can. I thought he was a priest over there in one of those churches in Minatola or somewhere over there.
you would think maybe
Maybe not. I don't.
or maybe somebody there was named after Padre Pio because they have to take on a confirmation name. Anyhow, let's see. What did I want to mention? Okay, in the student books on page 37, it mentioned something, and I wanted to see if you agreed with this definition. It said if the essence of sin is the failure to recognize human limitations, to confuse ourselves with God, and foolishness is a logical consequence. Do you agree with that statement? That if the essence of sin is the failure to recognize human limitations, to confuse ourselves with God, the foolishness is a logical consequence.
This is in your,
No, this isn't a student book.
on page 37.
37, I believe. Bottom of the page, right down here.
The fool recognizes neither, wait, where did you start?
Well, I started it a little further down, but if you want to read the
Okay.
whole paragraph, maybe it'll make more sense.
In their effort to prove themselves wise, they become abject fools.
Maybe I need to see what
The
Romans
fool
1.
recognizes neither his or her lack of knowledge nor personal limitations. The fool recognizes neither his.
Maybe I'll read what Romans
Lack of
1
knowledge
says.
or
Romans
personal
1,
limitations.
23. Romans 1.
The fool recognizes personal limitations. Okay. If the essence of sin is the failure to recognize human limitations.
Well, that don't even make
Where did
sense.
that come from? The essence of sin is the failure to recognize human limitations.
That's what I was saying. Would you say that's
I don't-
what
I don't
the
agree
essence
with
of sin?
No. I don't
Confusing
agree.
ourselves with God. I think they're equating that to when Eve
Okay.
kind of was at
To
the, in
confuse
there,
ourselves with God.
and she was kind of acting like she wanted to have a knowledge of God, because he told her, if you eat that, you will know. Of course, you will die too, but you will know like God knows, kind of thing. And I guess that's what they are saying. The essence of sin
is
is-
the failure to recognize, but it says human limitation.
right. Well, we would say
Failure
God
to
has
recognize the essence of sin, first of all,
What would you say the essence of sin is then?
I wouldn't say, well, the essence of sin could be anything from, telling little white lies to,
Okay.
Would be
Yeah.
anything against God's laws.
Right.
anything against the Ten Commandments. But that's not really the, I guess it's just naming it the essence of sin.
Like where does sin come from? I think of the essence of sin, I come also think.
I don't, that's kind of, I think they're trying to, I gotta figure this out. How do they, by human limitations, the essence of sin and human limitations.
Well, I wanted to go back and read where we're at. And it says Romans 1:23, but that don't make sense. I'll read 22 and 23. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal human being and birds and animals and reptiles. That's what
the
it's-
Catholic. That's the gods before, that's the saints and all them other gods and the Greek gods and all them people. And they're trying to say they were foolish to limit themselves to believe in such things. How's that sound?
Well,
Is that what he's trying
then
to?
further on, it talks about giving them over to their sin. Therefore, God gave them over to their sinful desires of their hearts, to sexual impurity, for degrading of their bodies with each other. They exchanged truth about God for a lie. So maybe that's where they're trying to say that comes in.
I think they're trying to fit a
Rather
whole
than-
bunch of stuff into some little category that just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, I still disagree.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think, I can't imagine God giving them over to themselves for whatever. I don't understand that part.
Well, that's what the next paragraph talks about on the next page, about how God gave them over. He repeats 3 times that line in the end of the chapter. Paul recognizes social consequences of a failure to recognize the difference between creature and creator. Paul repeats 3 times the line that God gave them over to the consequences of their deeds.
No, because they believed in those things, that's why they became, no, I'm not buying it.
Okay.
They became creatures of their own sin? No.
It says the perversion having started with the darkening of
It's all
human
about
mind.
perversion is what
Yeah.
it's all about. And
You don't think that they got so far along so bad that God just gave them over to their
no,
desires?
God doesn't do that.
Okay. That's what it sounds like it's saying, though.
Well, we're thinking more of a modern,
Right.
when you have a modern point of view, that's what we do, that's what we do here. We take all this
Oh, yeah.
and we
Yeah.
bring it, we go in depth.
Right.
Look at what they're talking about and then bring it in our minds into a more modern situation.
Right.
And knowing what we know now compared to what they knew then,
Right.
you know what I mean? That's where I get confused because that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
I mean, if, that's interesting, but I still don't agree with it. Anyway,
It's okay, you don't have to.
I'm
do
trying,
it. That's
it's
why we're
hard.
talking about
It's
it.
hard, yeah, it's hard to think about this in a
Right.
logical way,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe I don't have my thinking cap on.
That's okay. Well, that's fair, because I only ask a lot of questions.
But you only got a
Well, I
little
wanna
while
read
longer
it,
than I'm
but my-
leaving.
I'm trying to get into Gateway and that's all they're giving me is stupid games.
Oh.
And I can't get out of them.
Huh.
What's Gateway?
Bible Gateway is like a Bible thing where you can look up to this.
I can look
already.
up anything and sit here.
Oh, I'll send you a link to the other one that's free. I have a Bible on there. I don't have all that crap on it.
But why would I have
I don't know.
But he says, and Paul goes on to argue that there are 3 immediate consequences of suppressing the truth.
Right, because it says that's one of the issues it says here, that we suppress the truth. It's one of our sins.
Holy moly, are we making up sins as we go along here?
No?
Just because somebody. if somebody doesn't know, are they suppressing the truth? I mean,
You lost me. Without my book in front of me.
Yeah, right.
it doesn't, you know what I mean?
I can't read it on here.
When a
Because it
person
says
begins-
like at
well,
the
when a
top of the
person
page,
begins to
37.
confuse themselves with God.
Like up here, it talks about, verse 18 says that the essence of the human dilemma is a suppression of truth. This radical doctrine of sins presupposes that all humans have an intimate tendency to resist God. You know,
It's not that they don't resist, it's not that they resist God, it's just that they don't know God. How do you?
well, the Bible father or the forefathers would say we were born into sin. We're all sinful. We have a sinful nature.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what to me it's saying.
but you have to,
What
you
verse are you
know,
on?
God's not, you know,
Like 18 of
God's not trying to give up on you because you give
This is 18
into
or
your-
19, 20.
whatever, I don't know. Because they confuse themselves with God. I don't know. I don't agree with Paul. I don't even, a human idolatry and divine wrath, I think he's making this up. And I think this author is trying to make it look and it doesn't.
It does say like, well, in my book, it says, keep it, where does it say? You have to devise a plan of your discussion to avoid getting bogged down in tiny details. But how the heck can you do Bible study and not look at the details? Isn't that the whole idea?
Exactly.
So I'm sorry if that's what we're doing, because
Yeah, because you know what?
I go, that sounds like some bull crap, and I know that's why I
You
read
know
it. I
what?
went,
They want to spoon feed you this crap and
well, I think
we
that's
don't
why.
buy it.
I think that's why we have these different ones, because we can have these discussions. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you read something, you go, or I hear a preacher talking, oh, that's some crap he said right there. That's maybe not what I said, that's something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I go, whoo, okay. I've heard some preachers talking, I go,
Yeah.
especially like the prosperity gospel. I go, oh God, could you not? And I try not to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
What do you mean by prosperity?
Where if you give me money, God
Oh,
will
you mean
bless
like
you.
like
you know.
Joel Osteen?
Yeah. He has great things to say sometimes, about 10%
I
of
can't
the time.
listen to him.
But I can't because of that.
I can't listen.
Because to me, that preaches to the people, like someone who's lived in Haiti their whole life, will be poor their whole life, live in a shack their whole life. You're telling me God doesn't love them? That to me, that's what
See?
that says.
Exactly. Yeah.
What does that gospel say to them? That says they're nothing and God doesn't love them.
That's not, and that's
Yeah,
the same
and
thing they're trying to say here.
It's almost like they live into it. Because that God doesn't love them, so they might as well be bad. And
That's
they never can get
exactly
out of it.
what they're saying here is the same thing that you just said.
But there's hope because we have Jesus, and Jesus can liberate us from our sinful
What do you
nature.
have a God?
Well, Jesus is God.
Okay.
I'm just trying to be devil's advocate. I'm not trying
Okay.
to shut you
Yeah,
up.
all right then.
We do have other questions.
Okay, Paulette.
I don't like Paul because he always gets misinterpreted where he says women be silent in the churches. I'm like, well, that goes my job, you know. What am I going to do now, Lord? If that's really what you're saying, you better come up with some plan B because I went through all this school. I'd be a little mad if that's right. If I really believe that, I wouldn't be preaching. But anyhow.
See, you pick and choose just like a
Yeah,
of us.
of course I do. Why would you guys be alone in that?
Why should we have all the fun, right?
Yeah. Okay,
And you try to feed this stuff to us.
I'm just reading all different things. That's why we
I
come
know.
to discuss it. Yeah.
I know, that's
Page
why we have
40.
fun.
Yeah.
Some of you here.
Paul
Why
says,
don't we just call it a day?
because it's all, we still have some time. Paul says that the gospel has the power to transform and save everyone, and that the power confronts us whenever we presume to take on the identity of God. There's that identity of God. Can you recall and share with members of your group times when the gospel has encountered you as power?
As what?
Power.
Oh, power.
Power.
There was power.
Sarah, I wonder who gave
So,
that.
can you recall and share with members of your group times when the gospel has encountered you as power?
When you see people's lives change, like like, I saw my uncle get saved and get really
Oh,
in
I've
the
seen
church.
that,
And
and
he,
that's what they're
and he was
saying
a
here.
drunk his whole life, been in rehab like 5, 6, 7 times, and now he's been sober for like 10 years. I was late,
But that's like-
I called the law on him that time.
That's not
That was
cons-
another one of those good family stories.
But that's not considered power.
God empowered him to quit drinking.
That's the way it should have been said, but that's not what it says here. That does
Okay.
not say that. Can you recall and share with others of your group times when the gospel has encountered you as power? It should have said
Empowered you to.
empowered you
Okay.
to, or not empowered, yeah.
I guess it's just semantics, yeah, but that's the way I interpret it.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with my head. It doesn't interpret things that way.
And you're already you're the one that wanted to do Romans, but you don't like Paul, so you just like, you want to start a fight.
I do. That's what I'm hearing.
Well,
That's
that's
what I'm
okay.
hearing.
But that's why I like having her, because you both know the Bible really well, and she also has,
Yeah.
different perspective,
Yes.
being Catholic. So I'm just like, okay, but she's not real Catholic. She's
No.
one of us, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
The more she talks, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
she can have her
Yeah,
saints
my-
and the rosary or whatever.
My neighbor came over and listened to her.
Oh, she probably had a
Oh,
stroke.
she had a field day.
Okay, number 2, have you ever encountered wrath as an everyday experience? If so, what was it like? In particular, have you encountered stories that convey the idea of sin as its own punishment?
Now, wrath is a punishment, right? Is that what they say? Wrath
The
is
wrath
a
of God.
punishment.
Well, I don't know if that's like the wrath of God or just wrath. It didn't say God's wrath, but I guess,
I don't think I've ever encountered true wrath.
I know my dad got pretty angry quite a few times. It was not.
Is there a
good.
difference between anger and wrath?
Of course there is.
Anger, I think, is just somebody getting angry. Wrath is like seething,
Like really?
can't, like
Like
you don't,
Job.
like you almost don't remember what you did because you were so angry, kind of.
No,
that
I've
kind of
never
wrath.
encountered anything like that.
Of course, my dad drank too, so that didn't help things. Yeah. Problem is, he didn't deal with stuff that happened in his life, and so that just boiled under the surface.
There we go. You have to take that into consideration with human nature.
Yeah, I do. That's why
You
I'm
know,
forgiving him
you
for the things he
can't
did
just
to me.
assume that
After
it's
I
God's
found out-
wrath because
Well, I didn't say
something's
it was
wrong
his
with that
wrath,
person's
But I would
house.
say that was his wrath. Okay, but yeah, that's how I can forgive him, because I realized why he was the way he was.
Yeah.
Because he was dealing with these demons or
Exactly, and
whatever.
that's how a lot of.
And if you don't deal with it, it oozes out in other ways, either perversions or anger or drinking.
All
drinking
kinds of
all
ways,
stuff.
yeah, all kinds of ways.
If
But
you
it
deal
doesn't-
with it, you can actually overcome it, but he didn't deal with it, so.
But you have to understand that most people can't deal with it. That's why
Yes.
they're in the situation they're in.
But
They
it made
need
it,
medical help.
it made it even worse when my brother died, and so he's like laying, angry at God.
Yeah.
So he was already angry at God because things happened, or, it shouldn't happen. Then his son, his namesake dies, watches his son die.
Mhm.
That,
Well, yeah, I
so I go, okay, I get it. And so I see a little God's grace there, but when I was going through it, I didn't have a whole lot of grace because it was hurting me,
Right.
So, but I can see it on the other side and forgive him, but.
And I can't imagine, God, some of the things that could happen that would probably really make people to say, okay,
Yeah,
we're done, God. You know what I mean?
right.
Things can happen to that point. I
Right.
can understand that.
I think, not that maybe I shouldn't name these, but I think that's what happened to Bob Roller.
Yeah, yeah,
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, because I've never talked to him about it,
right,
but I think that's it.
yeah. And like with Mrs. Lanning, didn't she lose a son that was like?
2.
Yeah, so I
One
mean,
was run over by a
that's
tractor,
what I mean, I
and
know
then the
something
other one,
tragic.
and the other one committed
That's
suicide.
right, so I mean, if anybody's got a right to be angry and God, I would think of these people who lose children like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not that I guess it excuses, but to me, I'm like, that's where grace
It's
comes in.
understandable.
Yeah,
You
like,
know, I mean, and that's what makes it excusable is because you can understand it.
right,
People back when this was written,
right,
it's only your kid, what, don't worry about it.
right.
I have
Make
another
another
one.
one, because they
Yeah.
had them all the time.
Yeah.
People died all the time.
Yeah, they
Dysentery and
all
all that.
kinds of stuff,
Yeah,
right?
they
Bats and milk.
Yeah, so it didn't really.
You know, So, human life was different then than it is now, We put a lot of value on human life now.
Right.
And you think they didn't?
Not as much, probably,
Mhm.
because the
I know, I find that
expectancy
hard
of
to
life.
believe that a parent would not have.
I'm sure, that's what I'm saying, I'm sure it, it does, a parent would be very upset,
Yeah. I still can't
but,
fathom the stories that Isaac and.
Oh, yeah, where he
That-
takes his son and is gonna sacrifice him.
That story in the
Abraham and
Bible
Isaac.
really gets, I just can't deal
And
with it.
I trusted God with bringing her in. Okay, you trust God a whole lot more than I do. Because I wouldn't be able to go up on a mountain and
No.
say God's gonna provide somebody else or
No.
something else.
That-
But I'm gonna go, God said to go sacrifice you, so here we go. And I got all the knives and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those Bible stories you go, all right, Lord.
let's
This
remember that one.
This is one we skip over in Sunday school.
That one really bothers me.
Yeah, because why would God test your faith?
To that point,
Yeah, to have you commit murder yourself.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
you know,
to that
after he already promised you, you're gonna have children.
Yeah.
They're gonna be your.
What would he expect if he wanted to see how trustworthy a person is? That's taking it to the limit.
Yeah.
Because most people would say, "Take me."
Yeah.
Instead.
Exactly.
Right. That would be their first.
That's the
no,
first thing.
Take me.
Yeah.
But to somebody, the story itself had to be who wrote that. Whoever wrote it was like,
Yeah.
was either crazy or.
Right.
Yeah.
They attribute it probably to Moses, I'm sure. But,
Could have been anybody. Like people
yeah.
take things out of context and start writing stuff.
Right. Yeah, because it kind of on this side, or maybe that side, it makes God look a little nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
why would I
why
want to
would
serve a God
would do
that?
something like
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Or expects me to do
Expect that
something
kind
like
of
that.
faithfulness.
Yeah.
And
Nowadays, he's lucky if we get a, if we get an
Get
amen
out of church on Sunday,
get
Get
a
something
prayer
else
started,
prayed,
much
yeah.
less, something like that.
Yeah.
They'd turn against him in a minute if this was the
Right.
kind of stuff that was going on nowadays. But we have, well, anyway.
I don't know. But it's hard because, like, we were brought up in church not to question God, and not question the church, and not
That's right.
question stuff.
That's right.
But then I started growing up, and I said, no, you gotta ask God the questions. Because I do it all the time. God, what the hell going on here? This is a little some bullshit here. I have
Yeah.
those moments where I'm like, okay, God, I'm living for you. What the hell?
I'm on your side, but don't expect me to believe some of this stuff.
And it'll make sense in the end. That's what I keep telling myself.
Yeah,
That's what
it'll
faith is.
all
It'll all
make
come
sense
together
in
in the end. Because every once in a while, God will give you like half a second glimpse of like, ooh, okay.
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
And I'll go, all right.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
doesn't do it very often. Like, and it's almost just this calmness. Like,
Yeah.
it all comes together. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And that's why we can't. He doesn't tell us how it goes because we can't understand it. So I just, okay, God, you got it.
Oh.
It's wonderful, but it's also frustrating because I still go to those moments. Go, all right, God, this don't make no sense.
Yeah, because you're.
I can't do this no
all
more. This is some
over
crap.
again. You gotta do it. Once
To
you
learn
hit
lesson.
that utopia,
Yeah,
you might as well just hang up your coat because it's going to start
it's
getting
going.
ugly.
It's gonna be. But then I start panicking. Like I should be doing something different. I should be something more, or I should be.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing with ministry? Because there's always something I could be doing.
Yeah.
I could go home and be devising a 10-year plan and like get online, research, and for what? And then God's like, yeah, but you gotta love my people. You gotta learn to be better past, to be there for the people, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sounding
And
crap.
here you are trying
And
to
I'm
plan
sitting
your
there
whole
going,
life out.
trying
You
to-
haven't even got to
If
day
you-
one yet
If you
here.
look online, there's all these, you grow your church, and of course you spend $300, it'll help you with this, and it's like, God just saying it's not about all that.
It's your relationship with God.
Yeah. The Bible is all about our relationship with God and with each other.
Yep.
It's the whole thing. From
That's
front to
all
back.
it is,
Yeah.
in a nutshell.
We do have one more question.
God,
We have 15 minutes.
you got 15 minutes. You got one question and I'm leaving. It's
Okay.
a beautiful day out there and you're
It's cold.
interfering
Dan actually turned the heater off.
with my sun time.
Okay.
SUN.
I was
You're not
thinking,
going to the beach, are you?
Tomorrow morning I am.
Really?
I'm going to see the sun come up.
Yeah.
with your teeth chattering, you have your coffee at least with you at home?
I got this, I've been doing this a long time, honey. Watch it.
Well, Dan wouldn't turn the
Let me
heater on. It
explain
was
what you
65 in
say
the
when
house
you
last
go
night.
down there on these kind of days because of the whole
Christmas.
Yeah, the tilt
whole
of the earth, yeah.
earth and
Right.
you're sitting there and you're drinking your coffee
No,
and
I'll
then
have to
all of a
pay you.
sudden there's this thin orange yellow line.
Right, oh, you get
that
down
goes
there before
all the
Sunday.
way across the horizon for as far as you
I got
can see.
you. Okay.
And then this little ball slightly comes over the horizon and shoots up rays to the sky,
Yeah,
which causes the clouds to look like, have you ever seen a solar flare?
yeah.
Looks like that. And then all of a sudden, this great big brilliant light comes
How
up
long
out
do you
of
stay
there.
down?
It only takes 10 minutes. If you're not down there, it's only 10 minutes,
Wow.
if that long.
Okay.
You only got a limited window there, and then it's all over, then it's up.
Yeah.
And then everything just starts dissipating.
Right.
Then you just go home.
So where do you
But
go
it's
to do this?
worth every minute. Huh?
What beach do you go to this?
It's, Sea Isle,
See,
because I can park right there, and I just sit there
Oh,
in that
you're
parking
sitting
lot.
comfy,
Yeah, of course. You know,
sipping,
yeah,
having
I
your
mean,
spiritual moment.
and
huh?
if I'm in, well, now I can't get it because they can't serve hot dogs till 7 o'clock. But I might be able to get a hot dog and a coffee first thing in the morning. But maybe not tomorrow, but that's okay.
Okay.
But one of these days, either tomorrow or the next few days, I told my husband, listen, I am going to the beach to watch the sun come up.
Okay.
And I'll be home before everybody else gets out of bed.
I guarantee it. Does Paul's, I know a good way to try to get away from this question, but I'm still going to read it. Does Paul's argument concerning the absolute impartiality of final judgment seem relevant?
No.
Why or why not? Do you feel it is healthy for people to realize that a time will come when disguises will no longer work? Why or why not? Waiting, there's a long one. Waiting till later or until the end for just desserts means living in the now without regard to future consequences.
Okay.
What are the ways God nudges you to shift back to a godly path? That's a lot of
Okay.
questions.
Yeah, okay, there's some of this stuff here that I don't believe that, if you wait till the end and you're going to say, oh, Jesus, please forgive me, and then you're going to heaven. Because I've worked too hard all my life
That's
to
not
get
fair.
there. And you're not going to just waltz in here at the last minute and say, take me in, because you're going to the outermost parts of heaven.
Okay.
I'm going to the other part.
I don't care. Like I said, you propped the back door open, let me get on the sneak in the back. I don't care. I'm at the inner parts or what. I'll be out there and
Inner or outer, we're going to be in heaven, no
I
matter
hope
what.
so. Anyway, that's the plan.
Okay.
I don't know about we're gonna have a mansion though. We sang that on Sunday one.
I don't know.
Because
That's one of Jenny's favorite songs.
well, that's okay, but it makes me grit my teeth because better translation, in heaven there will be many rooms,
Right.
not many mansions.
I know.
So when you get up there and there's a little shanty shack, I don't really
As long
care.
as it's got air conditioning in the
That's
summer.
what I'm
and heat in the
saying.
winter,
As long as we don't
I'm
have to
good.
have sin and sickness and, you know what, I don't want for nothing. I don't care where I'm living. I don't care for the streets of gold. I don't care if I probably don't even care if my dog's there, but I probably want my doggies there or something like that.
I don't think his whole this guy that
Yeah.
wrote it,
Father.
the whole argument doesn't have
Okay.
anything to do, I think, with the whole last questions he asked,
Okay.
because he's assuming that they're never going to get right with God. That, and how does he know that these people that are the impartiality or whatever, or
I guess I think the question is asking like absolute impartiality means God will be absolutely impartial in final judgment
of course he will.
because he's God.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way I
Because he
see it.
knows your heart.
But he says, is that relevant today? Does that
Of course
we
it
see
is.
that would resonate with someone today if
Of
we
course
said
it is.
God will be fair in the end.
There's no needs to be judged.
But I'm glad now I've done some dirty dog things. I don't want to stand there while the God announces all the things I've done and you always go, really? Lord did that? Yeah, I told you I was so tired.
He's already dealing with you about that, don't you?
Well, I know, but it's just like, when I think, that's what I think scares me. Like, I know I've done things, whatever. Are we gonna have to list all of our sins for everybody to see?
I don't think so.
Because
I'm telling
it
you,
says everything will be
he's doing it in a
revealed.
way. He
Will
does it in a
it
way.
matter? Will it even matter when I get to heaven? I don't
He's
think it'll
doing
matter.
it in a way that you're not even gonna know, and all of a sudden you're gonna go, oh yeah, I did that, and then you're gonna worry about it for 3 or 4 days, and you're gonna forget about it.
Because I feel like a
Because
lot of guilt of
see.
things I've done, and then I like,
You can just say,
but God forgives me, and I'm thinking, but I
cross
always,
yourself a couple
I
times,
know,
call candidates,
I think it's like, well, if God's forgiven me, then why is it gonna come back up again?
I don't think so.
This kind of thing, but.
No, it won't. Once he's forgiven you,
Unless it is like the Catholics where we gotta earn our way up into heaven, I don't care if it's like that. If I get to on the other side of this and I have to do some things and do something, I'll do it. I know I ain't been no good, if I gotta fix it a little bit. But I don't wanna do, but if it's the way it is,
I think God
We don't know.
God made people the way they are. And it's
yeah,
his problem to figure out how to fix them.
okay.
It's his problem.
Well,
All we do is believe him and let him do his
then
work.
fix it.
Bless him. That's all. Just bless him, Father. That's what you
Right.
say,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Bless him. That's probably, it's better than shooting somebody if you
Yeah.
say bless them. Because
Yeah.
then God, if you want them blessed because of your
Yeah,
association with God or your,
right.
and you say, bless them.
Well, the problem is when people are bad, when people do certain things, I can't always be that. Like if I heard a child molester,
I know.
I can't,
It's not gonna
I have no grace for them. And I know God does. And the pastor of me says, Jesus died for them too. Jesus loves them too. I can't. I don't have no grace. And I'm sorry. I'm not, that makes me a bad person. I just can't. There's something in me that I can't forget it. And I just can't.
Stop thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that?
It's a Jewish thing.
Ah!
The Rockies, the
That's
Italian.
Italian.
Okay.
Jews do that.
Okay.
Weird, something like that.
Did you see the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all spitting at her.
Ah, yeah.
I don't know if I saw that.
Yeah. It's like
That's a good
it shows it's a tradition, yeah, which is good because I've never really seen too many Greek traditions. Like, wow, they have some stuff.
I wonder if it's really true.
But I don't know. Because I know they did some of that stuff at that wedding that Julie went to. Didn't they do something like that at the wedding?
I'm sure it's not
the one-
nearly as.
Oh, the one up in New York?
Yeah. They did something.
I don't know what they did, but that was quite an affair, I guess.
I
Yeah.
don't think they did quite like what they would have done.
Oh, no, they gotta give it.
originally in Greece.
I'm sure.
But that was their way of life.
Right.
And then Paul comes in and tries to change their whole lifestyle.
Right.
Well, it's a little difficult.
Right.
Like you or somebody all of a sudden coming in and saying, okay, here's a new theory.
Yeah.
Ah,
Don't do this.
we've been
do that.
doing this long enough. You go on,
Right.
That's the whole thing here.
Yeah.
He's trying to
Okay.